Dr. Peter McCullough, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Well, we have a lot to cover, some fantastic news this week with RFK Jr.'s confirmation, and you've got some interesting intel on Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell, they wheeled him in a wheelchair to be the only Republican to vote against RFK. McConnell's case is that, he claims that he had polio as a child and that he saw the polio vaccine markedly diminish cases of polio in the United States. And, I would agree with him. I think the polio vaccine did play a role, as well as water sanitation and so many other advances in public health. But John Leake just put out a Substack and said, wait a minute. McConnell came from a small town called Five Points in Alabama, only 114 people in that town. There were no outbreaks of polio the year when he was, a small boy in Alabama, none at all. In fact, the South had a lot more natural immunity to polio because they had, low levels of polio exposure in the water supply. So, this whole question of people declaring they had polio, in fact, transverse myelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, so many other things are polio mimics. There was a big study at the University of Michigan decades ago, and about 1,200 kids with purported polio. Turns out only a quarter of them really had polio as the disease. So polio is a situation where the case count was grossly overstated. And when there was accurate testing and diagnosis, the number of real cases was markedly smaller. I think the polio vaccines did have a big impact. As a kid, I ended up having the full oral polio series, and then later on the injectable polio, IPV. Now kids nowadays get IPV. And I think of all the vaccines, it's relatively free of side effects. So I have no problem with polio vaccination. But I do wonder when people make the claims they had polio and they never really had confirmation and diagnosis, like Mitch McConnell.
It's just bizarre, and obviously another blown up issue. I mean, this is what they've been doing the whole time throughout the RFK Jr. hearings. Elizabeth Warren so concerned that he's going to bankrupt pharma. Well, if there's nothing to bankrupt them for, what are you worried about? If they've been doing everything according to how they should be, then why would we be concerned about that?
It's true. She tried to get RFK to promise that he wouldn't go after big pharma.
Yes.
And here it was, all along, she's taking money from the pharmaceutical companies. And they tried to nail him on legal referrals for lawsuits. It turns out for lawyers, they can actually refer for fee cases to other lawyers. You can't do that in medicine. Doctors can't do that. That's called a Stark violation. The bottom line is Kennedy was perfectly within the limits of the law, and Warren, Sanders, and others were called out because they were taking money from big pharma, and they were actually making points in the hearings to satisfy their lobbyists, not for the health of America.
And that Sanders takedown was absolutely glorious. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But we do have the next phase now. So now that RFK Jr. has been confirmed, we have the promise of absolute transparency. And to be honest with you, Dr. McCullough, I think that if people had true transparency around the COVID injections and this platform, it would be banned altogether. And we just covered this recent article from Courageous Discourse about a peer-reviewed study identifying serious safety signals for 37 adverse events following COVID-19, quote-unquote, vaccination in pregnant women. And I mean, this is just one in a litany of studies and articles that have been published about this. Dr. McCullough, how quickly do you think RFK Jr. is going to act?
Well, it was already a executive order today to make America healthy today. So Trump is moving at light speed now. RFK's in place. You're right. A normal, healthy woman gets pregnant, takes a COVID vaccine, 37 different ways to mess up the pregnancy. And some of these are horrific, like losing the baby, miscarriage, stillbirth, premature delivery, maternal and fetal hemorrhage. The Thorpe analysis, which compares the COVID vaccines to influenza vaccines, so there's a fair comparator, clearly making the case that COVID-19s are not safe. Other studies that declare safety in pregnancy have many flaws and shouldn't be trusted. So we hope that things move quickly now. Sadly, people are still taking COVID vaccines in the United States. The number are few, but the data are in now. The VAERS system is reporting 823 Americans died after COVID-19 vaccination in 2024. So the boosters, despite all the refinement, are not safe for human use.
No, they're absolutely not. And I think we do have some movements. We have multiple states in the US, and we just had Nick Holscher on with us discussing the fact that multiple states were looking at banning mRNA. I note the Montana bills currently in place are actually calling for a ban on gene therapies in general for treating infectious disease, which I think that this is a very important step until we are sure that this technology is safe. And right now we're not. But we currently have the Bio-Pharmaceutical complex from Nick Holscher is actively working to stop critical bills that would ban mRNA technology. And in fact, in Tennessee, there was a major setback. What are your thoughts on this, Dr. McCullough? We need to make some progress on this quickly.
The biopharmaceutical complex, or this big lobbyist group between vaccine manufacturers, big pharma, and government, is very powerful. Senator Pody in Tennessee was going to hold a joint session to review the data. We needed someone on the House side to co-sponsor nascent legislation. And in fact, that's been killed now for a year. Despite that, about 9 states are moving forward with legislation to remove these products, messenger RNA products, from human use. 17 worldwide organizations have called for them to be removed from the market. Now, I'm not against biotechnology. I'm not against advances. But anybody receiving a messenger RNA or an adenoviral DNA vaccine should be in a clinical trial protocol. They shouldn't be doing this on their own at a pharmacy. It's not safe for human use.
Well, I just want to show the Montana bills. So you've got House Bill number 371, an act prohibiting the administration of gene-based vaccines into humans in the state of Montana, providing a definition and providing a penalty as well. In House Bill number 418, an act prohibiting the administration of gene-based vaccines into animals in the state of Montana, prohibiting the importation of animals treated with or exposed to gene-based vaccines, providing a penalty, and amending sections as follows. So I think that this is very, very important. People need to be sure of the safety of their food supply. Right now, they don't have any guarantees about this. We know that countries have been using Bovea, which people saw could be linked to infertility or potentially cancer. We don't have enough safety information about this stuff. In fact, we have negative information about it. So the people really, I think, are aware, and the fact that this is getting traction across multiple states is very good news. How do you think RFK Jr.'s confirmation will impact this?
Well, remember, RFK will be over the USDA, so the Department of Agriculture. So hopefully the big movement there. People have been concerned about genetic vaccines in poultry. It's been going on since 2017, and potentially into beef. Genetic vaccines into swine or pork. Poultry vaccinated outside the United States. But you know what? With the cooking and curing process, we don't know if these genetic material is ever transmitted to humans. Where progress is being made is actually having messenger RNA in vegetables and fruit juice. And now researchers have stabilized messenger RNA through that route. So, it turns out in the future, I think I'm going to be more concerned on the fruit juice and vegetable side than I would be on the meat side. But, I agree with the impetus and the spirit of this legislation that we shouldn't have any genetic vaccines in our food supply, whether it be plant or animal. Again, not against technology. They should be in clinical trial protocols. It should be research. And anybody who's actually given this food to eat should be a part of a research protocol too, to see if it transmits into them.
Right, well, that's the point. And I think, as far as everyone is concerned, I mean, not everyone, many people are concerned there needs to be a ban on this technology altogether. But if they plan to proceed, there needs to be complete transparency so that people know what's actually going on with them. What happens to the DNA? What happens to the human being? What are the potential risks? We've had complete ignoring of the deaths that have occurred from these existing injections. So until we have that transparency, and I'm hoping accountability, I really don't see how we can proceed with this technology. That's how I see it, Dr. McCullough.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think, early on, remember in COVID, we were told nobody should receive hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin unless they were in a research protocol. Well, we're at the same stage with messenger RNA. No one should receive these unless they're in a research protocol or the platform is banned altogether. The Achilles heel of messenger RNA is there's no ability to control where it goes in the body, no studies on genotoxicity, teratogenicity, oncogenicity, and we don't know how it gets out of the body. And then it produces, for an uncontrolled duration and quantity, various proteins. Now, if they're humanized proteins like insulin, maybe that could be a good thing. But boy, production of a lethal spike protein from SARS-CoV-2 or the fusion protein from RSV or spike protein from avian influenza, these are dangerous ideas. They're not safe even on the drawing board. And in my view, the platform should be shut down, and only human research trials under strict data safety monitoring should go forward.
Absolutely agree with you, Dr. McCullough. Well, we are very, very grateful for your take on this, for your insight, and for all of your work over the years. I know it's not over yet. We have a long way to go. And with RFK Jr. at the helm now, hopefully the road forward will be easier. Please let people know where they can follow your work.
Well, McCullough Foundation, McCullough FND, supports all of our research and scholarship. We're the leading foundation in peer-reviewed publications on the pandemic and other key public health issues, supports us in the courts as well as in testifying in public forums all over the world. McCulloughFND.org, tax-deductible donations, courageous discourse Substack, get a free email every day. My podcast, America Out Loud Talk Radio, McCullough Report, also Pulse, those two shows. I'm on all the channels like you are, Maria, because I am here as a doctor, as you are as a journalist, to bring the world the truth.
We are very, very grateful for you, Dr. McCullough, one of the hardest working people in the world. I'm certain of it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.